Good evening, guys. Welcome back. My name is Ajay Parmar, and in this video, we are going to create a code which can actually go and add the values in the yellow range. This question I have received from one of you. Okay, I hope you are watching this video. This question was given to somebody actually in his VBA test, in his VBA interview, and he has given me this file, and he said that he has to create a code, and as you can see, basically we want to sum the values horizontally for every range one by one, and then here, and then here, and then here also, and then here also, and then here also, right? But in his interview they said that you cannot use the hard-coded range. You have to use the loops and the variables to count the sum of the values. So basically the thing is that we can record the macro, and I can simply go and record the macro in this way. I can add these values and I can just go and drag this. Of course we can do that, and then I'll come here and I repeat the same process, but this is not how we are supposed to do it as asked in the interview. We have to actually use the loops and the variables. Right now, this is not really so easy. One has to be very expert in this. So let us start this, guys, now. And what is the plan? Now you see, if I start explaining this entire code, which I will actually explain you, I have created this code in I think 5 or 6 minutes, right? But before I tell you about this code, I'll paste this in the video section. You can just copy this code from there and just create this pattern, and you can use this. Make sure when you create these cells, you go and go by the instructions which I'm going to tell you. Now what we are trying to do in this video is that I have created a very unique way of handling this type of a problem, because I thought that I should give you something very unique and very advanced. Because you can use this idea, you can capitalize this idea in your project, in any of your projects. So we are saying, let us give the user an opportunity to write all the data here. So this is basically a data range, right? So you see, this data starts from A4 and this goes till C10, right? So this is what I have written. So your user will always do that, F4 to G10 and then K4 to L10, right? And same way you will go and write the other the ranges also. Like in this case, it's A13 to C21. Okay, idea is that we don't know how many ranges we will have, right? All are in the different columns, right? And we do not know how many number of columns we have here, how many rows we have here, right? So right now, if you see, this range has maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows. This range can have maybe 100 rows, right? So we need to put these values here. And for your user, writing these ranges is really not a difficult task. It's very easy. You just have to write the codes. So guys, the plan is that what we will say that we'll start looping through all these cells one by one where you have put the ranges. So our code will start from the second row and code will go up till last row, and that we can find out using the control up arrow, correct? So there will be a loop. There will be a loop which will say that for how many ranges, for how many ranges, for how many ranges, right? Like, I mean, we are going to use this in this way for next loop, what I'm trying to say. So we have here 2, 3, 4, let's say 4. Okay, I'll not use this, or let's keep this. Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you will tell the VBA that you have to loop this from 2 to 5 times, right? In this way. So VBA will go here. Now you know that VBA will go here, then here, then here. But if you go from here to here, wait a second. You have to go and first provide me the sum of all these values. Now that's very interesting. Now maybe you can have a other way also. As I said that I'm choosing the difficult way because I want to give you a very good understanding on this, how we can use the collection loop inside the for next loop. So here we will actually use for each cell in a range, right? Which range? Well, that range comes from here. Makes sense? Like for example, right now the range is A4 to C10, right? So this we will pick up from Q3 or Q2 actually, right? Like in this way. Okay, just try to take the idea. This is how our loop will be prepared, right? Now So why we are doing this? So because when you come inside this loop, you know that your range actually is A4 to C10, right? So your VBA will start running the loop like this, right? It always moves left to right in this way, correct or not, right? In this way. So here we are saying now, once we are inside this code, here we will write what exactly we will write, because if I show you the code, it will not be so easy to understand, to be very honest. You have to go and write it by yourself. Take the idea from this code. Take the idea. What I did, I said that whenever there is a first time in this collection loop, whenever there is a first cell, okay, capture that cell value, okay, and then move to the next, right? When you go to the next, in the previous cell, the row number of the previous cell, capture that in some variable, okay? So idea is that till the time the row of current cell and the previous cell are same, please add them. So when you're here, the current cell row is 4, the previous cell value row again is 4, right? Correct? Same. So you will add 48 with the addition of 77 and 22, right? The moment your loop jumps from 48 to 8, because in a collection loop A4 to C10, this is the next value. The row number changes, and this is the trigger point. The row is 5 and the previous cell row is 4. This means you are actually on a new row, right? So if you are in a new row, what we want, we have already captured the row of the previous cell. We have also captured the column of the previous cell, right? So we'll keep the same row, but in the column we will add 1, and whatever the value, whatever the sum we have got from adding these 3 values, we will go and print that value here, and then whatever value we have printed, that variable will become 0, because now there is a new row, and in the new row again the same process will be repeated till the time your this row and this row is same. Add them till the time this row and this row are same, right? Go and add them. The moment 96 comes in a collection loop, 85 and 96 are having different rows, so we will capture the value in the previous row which we have captured in the variable, and we will add 1 extra to that previous column, which will keep the cursor here, and we will print the value this way. This is fantastic, right? This is how we are going to go and give this output. Now, why I am using this logic that add the values till the time you are on the same row? Because I do not know how many columns I will have here. Like I have here 3 columns, I have here 2 columns, I have here 2 columns. You may have 5, 6 columns also. And I never wanted to actually write here all those things. Now to make this code easy, you can write here the number of columns also, and then you can always exit from the loop when you say that, you know, this value exceeds from this, and that will be easy, right? But no, we don't want to do that. We will try to input the minimum values, right? As less as we can actually afford. Okay, so here I'll show you the code. If I just go and hit on the F5, and then I'll explain the code. So this is where I am, right? This is the code I've created. I've defined all these variables. You can study this on the F8 node. Obviously, there's no problem, right? The important point is that you have to actually first of all run this loop from j variable 2, because this is 2, right? Well, I'm using a constant here too, because we always know from where the row will start, right? So if you're starting this maybe from 4th row, you just go and put here 4. The important thing is that in this, I'm using actually control up arrow. You can see to make this code dynamic. So one by one, we will go and start covering all the ranges, right? So if you see here, my j actually somewhere here. You see, this is my j. This is actually the bigger loop. Inside this loop, there is another loop, right? So we will come to this point once we are going to loop through everything inside the A4 to C10, right? Now here, I have written here one condition, and this condition is, I'll explain you this later. Right now, we start the code, okay? Forget about this. Right now, j is not greater than 2, because you know j is 2, right? So you will not go in the 10 part. You will come here. This is the important part. You see what we have done, we have defined this range as a range class, right? Now once you have defined this as a range, what we are saying, you please go and pick the row number 2 from j, right? and the column is 70. So in this way, what I'm going to do, I'm going to define my range as A4 to C10, and my RNG is the range object. Got the point, right? So this RNG is now my A4 to C10, right? Now we are initializing a variable called trigger, and we are saying trigger has to be equals to 1. Why? I'm just going to tell you. See this, you will just understand this. I'm saying that there is a variable called trigger, and the moment the code starts, trigger has to be 1. Okay, so now we're starting the code. We are saying that for each C is again my range class object. For each cell basically in a range, which you know, this is my range, correct? Right? Next time this will be the range when you will exit from this collection loop, and j will be 3. This is such a simple concept. So we are saying that for each cell in this range, first of all, please select the cell, right? You see now 77 will be selected. Make sense? 77 is selected. Now for the first time, because when you are on the first time, there is nothing to compare. As I said, you have to compare the current cell row with the previous cell row. As long as the row numbers are same, you are going to add them. Otherwise, you will not add them. Correct? Now here, because we are just beginning, there is nothing to compare, because this is itself is a first cell. So what I'm going to compare? That's why I've said trigger equals to 1. For the first time, when this loop runs, when the trigger is 1, there is a special calculation which we are supposed to do, which is what? Which is simply in a variable called store, we are going to capture this c.Value, the cell value, which is 77, right? Because we have to add this 77 later on into 24, right? So you see right now my store is 77, right? So far, when the first time the code is running, I'm just capturing the 77. Okay, and then I'm also going to capture the row of active cell, whatever, right? The active cell you are on, because of this c.Select, we will capture the row, right? So the row will come as 4. Make sense? This is the 4th row. Whatever it is going to be, it doesn't matter, right? Because this row will automatically be captured according to this range. So when you go and write this code in your program, it all depends which particular range you have written here. The code will work accordingly. That's the beauty of this code. Make sense? So now you see that immediately we are in the end if mode, because we have completed this circle. We have completed this then area. So in the else we have written something else. Okay. Now once you're done with this is a very important point. Once you're done with this, you will make the trigger as 2, because now the cursor will go here, and now we have a comparison between 24 and 77. So we don't want the trigger 1 should execute. Okay, so that's why here we are writing trigger as 2 or 3, 4, whatever you want to write. Okay. Now time is to go to the next C, which means next cell, right? Which is again a collection loop. So which cell now will this collection loop select? Tell me if you know the collection loops. Obviously 24, right? That's how the loop collection loop works, right? 24. Now you know trigger is not 1, trigger is 2. So you are in the else area. Now this is where now we need to understand. You see, first of all, I'm capturing the row of this cell, which is very easy. For that I have declared again another variable, active row. Active row will now capture the row of the active cell, correct? Which is what? Which is 4, correct? Right? Now this 4 will be compared with the previous row. Remember this previous row of this 77, right? Right? Now to be honest, you really have to think on this part. I mean, though I'm explaining you, it looks very easy, right now, but yes, I have taken some time, maybe I think 5-6 minutes, right? So you see, previous row and active row are same, which means the row of this cell and the row which we have captured for this, they are same. So that means we must go and add the values, right? So we'll go and add the values in the store variable, right? Now if you remember from the previous trigger, when the trigger was 1, we have already captured the store here, right? So now this store will be added with the new value, which is 24. So here we are going to actually add this cumulative sum. We are going to take this calculation in this way. Okay. Now before you exit from this if now, because now store is 77 plus 24, correct? We must go and capture the row of this and the column of this cell. Okay. I'll tell you why column. Okay. But row is also very important. So that's why I said previous row now should be equals to the active row and active cell column. So now we have here 4 and a column as 2. So we have captured the row and the column of this cell, right? Finally, we are out of this. This is also another part. And this is also something I'm going to discuss. Right now we are out of it, right? Again, trigger is 2, fine. Now the next cell is 48. Again, you come back here and now you capture the row of the active cell, which is what? Which is again 4, correct? Because you can see that the row number of 48 is 4, and the previous row which we have already captured from here, right? That is also 4. So 4 and 4 are same, which means 24 and 48 are on the same row. So definitely again we want to go and add these values, right? Now 77 and 24 is already available in store, and the new value of the c.Value, which is 48, it will be added in the store. Make sense, right? Again, now you will go and revise this previous row and the previous column, right? So we will capture the row of this 48 now, which is again row is 4 and the column is changed now from 2 to 3. Make sense, right? Now see this. Now this is very interesting now and very important. Here comes the real part now. Now you see the next time when the loop goes, right? Loop has to go to the 8, correct? You see the loop has selected the 8, right? Obviously trigger is not 1, so we come in the else area. Now what is the row number of 8? It's 5, correct? So you will see here the 5, correct? Now this 5 and the previous cell row, which was 4, because we captured the row of 48, right? They are not equal. This is 4 and this is 5. Bingo. This is where now we need to click. Now when the row is changed, it means time has come to print the value, right? Because whatever the values we have stored in that variable, right? Whatever the values we have got in the stored variable, that we must go and print those values. That's why now here the code will go in the else area, because this condition is failing. The row is changed. Now when the row is changed, obviously it means that the sum has to be printed. Where then? Where? Obviously the row and the column which we have captured, right, of the cell, the very next cell, right? So column, that's why I said that we have to capture the column. You have already captured here the column 3. So column will be 3 plus 1, because I don't want to overwrite this. So 3 plus 1 means you will go here, but the row will remain the same, which is 4. So 4 and 4, so you will have a value printed here, right? So you got 149. Now once you have got 49, you don't want 149 to be added in 8. Make sense? So you are actually resetting your variable as 0, the store, right? Store becomes 0. Important point, right? Once the store becomes 0, again one more thing, right? Because this is the first time now the cell, this is the first value, which is my 8. Now before I go and run this code again, when I'm going to be on 87 and 8 will be compared, I must go and add this 8 right over here. And that's why I'm saying the store which is 0, now it should capture the value of c equals to value in the else part. So we have now captured this 8, right? This is how I have used this idea. If you have a better idea, go ahead, right? Once this is done, again, we must go and capture the row of this 8, right? So row of 8 is now what? It's going to be 5, correct? So now the next time when the loop again runs, right, you have now 87 selected. Look here, 87 is selected, right? So what is going to happen now? Again, what is the active row now? Active cell row is 5, right? What is the previous row? Remember this previous row 5. Are they equal? Yes, they are equal. So what are you going to do? Again, you're going to do the same step. Now you have already captured the store 8. This is very important point, right? Because we wanted to capture the 8 here. So whenever the loop comes from first row to the second row and then third and fourth, we will, after printing the value, right, we will go and capture that single value. So now you have here 8 and you have here the 87. Correct? So we have got the store. And again the same process will be repeated, right? So till the time, guys, we are on the same row, right, we will keep adding the values. Look at this now. The moment I'm on 96, the row number are not equal. So what do? You have already captured the row of this cell, or the previous cell actually, this cell, and adding 1 to the previous cell column will take you here. And this is where you have to print this store. Okay, so in this way I will have all the values printed. Okay, so this is the logic I hope you now know, right? So there are two important things happening. Till the time the rows are equal, you are just adding them, right? The moment the row changes, you have already captured the row of the previous cell and the column. So the moment the row changes, you're just adding one to the previous cell's column, and on the same row you're printing that the value. So now one more thing, right, which I want to tell you. See, once we are done with this, let me quickly run this. See, in the last row, when you are here on the last cell, okay, again the same concept will happen like this. You see that we are able to have everything, right? We will capture everything, correct? But now because you have already looped through all the cells, what will happen? You will go in the next. You will go in the next C, okay? And this is where you have to go and print the value, okay, after this next C, because after this we will immediately go in the 55. So we need a way where we can actually go and print this value, the value which we have captured, okay, because we will not be able to run this loop again, and if we are not going to be in the else part, this printing will not happen. So that's why we are writing the line over here, okay. So I'm just going to write this here, and you see 157, and now the J will change. You see that the J is now, again the bigger loop is going to be, now we are going to work with the J as 3, right? So J is 3. Now when the J is 3, see this, when the J is 3, so maybe what I can do, I can just comment this line. I think this is not required. So if this is not required, because we are already printing the value here, right? So you can just ignore that. So again, now you see the J is 3, and on the third row and the 17th column, I have this range now, F4 to G10. Now on the F4 to G10, same concept will happen, and we must go and put the trigger back to 1, so that when I'm on 55, there's nothing to compare. We have just started, so we want to store the 55. So you see now cursor has selected this 55. Trigger is 1, so we are simply storing this 55 here. Look at this here, and then we are storing the row number of 55. Okay. Next time trigger is 2, so you go here. Now are they equal? Yes, they are equal. So you are going to use this 55 with the new value called 60. It is such a simple concept, right? So this way, if I start entering here, you see that we are going to get all the values. Let me just remove the break mode from here. There we go. Can you see that? This is wonderful, right? Now, if I, let's say, have here F13 and this is your G21, right? So I say F13 to G21, correct guys? Now, is this going to work? Can we go and check that? Let me just delete everything from here. That's why I said that, you know, this code is very user friendly, okay? Because if you use this concept in any of your maybe VLOOKUP or maybe HLOOKUP, you're trying to look up something, why don't you just ask people, your user, to enter the, you know, all the ranges here or whatever it is, and accordingly you can just run the macro. This is very dynamic. Now the moment I run this, I should be able to get all the answer. Look at this now. This is also coming, right? So this is super cool, isn't it? So now what you can do is you can go and use this file, right? And you can run this on the F8 mode, see that how the code is working. Once you got the idea about this code, right, what we are doing here, then you can of course go and customize this, right? You can further go and see that if you can reduce some lines, if you have a better approach, why not? Okay, I just wanted to give you the idea about this. So thank you so much for asking me this question. I hope you have enjoyed this lecture. Thank you.